Are you a homeowner out there thinking about putting your house on the market this year? Well, in this episode, we're going to talk about step 3 of the 8 steps of selling your home, and that is preparing your home to be listed. Now, I get this question asked a lot from my prior clients, from future clients, from people thinking about putting their house on the market. Should I do a pre-home inspection before I put my house on the market to be listed to be sold? And my answer to that question is, it depends. In this episode, guys, we're going to explore what the "it depends" means. There are actually a lot of pros of why you should do this, but there are also a few cons of why you should not do this. So in this episode, if you're thinking about selling, if you're a homeowner and you're thinking about selling, it doesn't matter if you're going to sell here in Maine or any other state in the country, or you're going to work with me or another realtor, or maybe you're going to sell it yourself. This episode's probably for you because I'm going to explore why you might want to get a home inspection and why you might not. Grab a pen and paper, sit back, because we're going to get after that right now. All right, guys, welcome back to the channel here at Live Life in Maine. My name is Scott Tebow. I'm a realtor with eXp Realty. I'm also an investor. I own my own investment company called Atris Real Estate Group. I'm also a real estate consultant. So what I'm kind of saying is real estate's in my blood. But more importantly than all that, guys, I'm married. I'm a father of 5 children. They're all grown now. They're all adults. I have actually 2 grandchildren. My wife and I have 2 grandchildren. We have another on the way. I'm also a veteran, served this country from 86 to 94. I've been all over the world. But outside of all that, I've lived in Maine almost my entire life, except for the extent that I spent in the military. Which makes me what we call is a maniac. A maniac is somebody who was born here and raised here, at least through school, and then, may have gone away, maybe have come back. But if you haven't been born here or you weren't raised here, you're not a maniac. You're probably a new Mainer if you don't qualify for one of those two, if you don't qualify for both of those categories. But anyways, guys, I digress. In this episode, we're going to talk about the selling process. Now, guys, we get calls, texts, emails all the time asking us what it's like to live here in Maine. Can you help us sell our property here in Maine? We actually field calls from investors too, looking to invest in the state. So if you fall in that category, if you're looking to buy, sell, or invest in the next 10 days, 10 weeks, 10 months, or maybe sometime in the future, that I would encourage you to subscribe to this channel, tap that bell to be the first to be notified when I drop new content. I'd also encourage you to drop a comment yourself, reach out to us via direct mail, book a Zoom call with us, send us an email, send us a text. We just love hearing from you guys. It helps feed this channel, and it helps a lot in the content that I deliver. So recently, as we've kind of come out of the winter thaw, more and more people are looking at putting their houses on the market in Maine while housing prices are still high. Even though interest rates are still high, the housing prices are continuing to increase here in Maine. And actually, I just read a statistic that Maine is the number 1 state, or was the number 1 state in 2023 to move to. Now, let me digress and tell you how I came up with that statistic. We're never going to compete, most likely, with like the Texases and Floridas who have 10, 20,000 people moving into the state a week, or a day. That's not us. What this study did, it was by Atlas Moving Lines, and what it did was it took how much inbound traffic there is and how much outbound traffic there is per capita. And they looked at those numbers, and Maine is number 1. Actually, New Hampshire is number 3. In other words, if you have, let's use Texas as an example. If you have 10,000 people moving to the state of Texas daily, but you have 10,001 people leaving Texas daily, well, then you're a net -1, right? So that statistic would say that Texas is not a favorable state to move into. I'm not saying that's what's going on in Texas, because it's not. But I'm just kind of giving you an understanding as per capita, we were the number 1 state to be moving to in 2023. And I really believe the reason why that is because we're still one of the most affordable states we are the most affordable state in New England, but more importantly, we're one of the safest states in the country. We're generally in the top three, either us, Vermont, or New Hampshire. It's kind of like round robin. If Maine's not the safest, then Vermont is, or if Vermont and Maine isn't, then New Hampshire is, and it goes back and forth. I think we're in number 2 actually in 2023. But I hear a lot from people that I've helped move here from other parts of the country why they want to move to Maine, and that's one of the big draws is the safety and the quality of life is a big draw. So if you're in that boat, then drop us a line, send us a text. Now, if you already live here, and what this episode is really about is, and if you're thinking about selling, and if you're thinking about the process and how do I get my home prepared, in this episode, we're going to talk about why you might want to get a home inspection. I get this question asked a lot, as I said, and there are actually, in my opinion, 5 reasons why you want to get a home inspection prior to you putting your house on the market. Number 1, without a doubt, you can identify issues early. So you obviously want top dollar for your house. Everybody does. But what happens is when you list it as top dollar, you're going to have buyers that come into your house and they're going to look at what's wrong with the house. They may want the house, but they're going to try to pick it apart in order to try to beat you up on the price. I believe when I have clients that I'm trying to sell a house for, I believe we need to stay in control. I don't want to turn that control over to the buyer broker. Now, guys, I can say this confidently because I also am a buyer broker, and you don't want somebody like me bringing in a buyer working on how we can get the price down if you're trying to get top dollar. As a buyer broker, I can put together a very compelling reason on why you should accept our offer. But then if it's based upon a home inspection, I can also put a compelling reason why we should lower the price based upon the home inspection items that we find. So you don't want that, you want to be prepared if that comes. So one of the biggest benefits, the first benefit to having a pre-home inspection is definitely identifying early issues. And by doing that, whether you fix them or not, you're aware of them. And when a buyer comes into the process, or a buyer shows up and you accept their offer and it's based upon a home inspection, you're already prepared most likely for what's going to come. You could actually provide that home inspection to everybody that's potentially looking to buy your house, so they already have an understanding of what the potential defects could be or some of the potential challenges, and you could price your house accordingly, stating, we are aware of these issues, we're not going to fix them, and the house is priced according to that. So they can't come back and challenge you on those issues because they already knew up front. I mean, they can come back and challenge you, but you've already disclosed that these are some of the issues up front, right? That's number 1. Number 2, by doing a home inspection, what you're really doing is you're building buyer confidence. So I know it sounds counterintuitive. Why would I do a home inspection first? Why wouldn't a buyer just do it? And I know that sounds normal, right? Because you don't want to disclose if there are any defects in your house or if you're aware of any defects. But to me, it's kind of counterintuitive because I would want to be prepared to know what a buyer is going to come back with. See, buyers, you could ask for, this is an example, you could ask for a house, you could ask for $500,000, and a buyer could be qualified to buy that house at $500,000, and they could put together a compelling purchase and sale agreement on why that you should accept their offer at $500,000, and you can accept it. But in the back of the mind, if one of the contingencies is based upon a home inspection, you got to be prepared that buyer broker may come back to you with some challenges with the home. Now, we've all heard the stories, just 2 short years ago, home inspections weren't happening. People were making cash offers, no home inspections, all that. Guys, that's not happening as much today in this day and age. And the reason why is because interest rates are so high. So people are really trying to protect what they're buying. They don't want to be in a high interest rate, paying a high mortgage, and then still having material defects or challenges with the house after they buy it. So most buyers, not all of them, but most buyers are requesting that there's home inspections. So the second reason, as I said, is you're going to build buyer confidence, right? You're either going to find issues with your house and you're going to address those up front before you put your house on the market. You may find issues with your house, put your house on the market and say, we are aware of these issues and we are addressing them right now, and they will be finished before any offer is accepted and closed on. Or you may say, we're aware of these issues, we're not going to address them, they're minor in our opinion, and the price is based upon we know about these conditions and we're just making you aware. But you're building buyer confidence because from a buyer's perspective, they're not going to go into the house then looking for all these challenges because you've already presented them with some of the challenges that are there. Furthermore, if you want to provide the inspection report as a giveaway, as a trade to show the buyer how enthusiastic you are to sell your house and you're aware of these issues, that's going to build more trust between the buyer and the seller. Guys, you have to admit, and you've probably all been on this side of the coin too, because you're a buyer, the seller wants the most amount of money they can get for their house. The buyer doesn't want to pay the most amount of money if they don't have to, right? So they're going to look for outs. It's a natural conflict of interest. It doesn't happen all the time, but it's happening more and more, specifically because interest rates are higher. And there's a lot of buyers that are on the sidelines waiting for interest rates to come down. So if you're putting your house in the market, we already see this. The days on market is happening as growing longer and longer. Inventory is going up, and that's only because there's not as many buyers. There's still a shortage, and don't get me wrong, it's still a seller's market. But because there is a shortage of buyers or buyers sitting on the sidelines, you have more, you're not as much in control as you were, let's say, 2 years ago. So number 2 reason, buyer confidence. Number 3, and I already addressed this, you can do accurate pricing. So a lot of listing agents, a lot of brokers are going to give you a competitive market analysis, CMA. And I think they're okay, but I'm not a big CMA guy, which tells you what houses sold, what houses are on the market, and what houses have closed. Kind of like what's sold, what's available, and what's pending or under contract. Kind of giving you an idea of your competition. Your price generally in a CMA is based upon what's sold, hopefully within the last 3 months in the area that your home is, but it's also going to be balanced across what is on the market in your competition. If they're looking at your house and 3 others that are right in your neighborhood, they're going to look at that. More importantly than that, the reason why I think CMAs are good, but they're not as good as kind of what I call a property positioning report, is they don't tell you in those CMAs the days on market or the absorption rate. In other words, how fast houses are selling. Those are 2 very, very big factors when considering selling your house. Sure, you can put your house on the market, but if you want to sell it, let's say you're moving to another house, you're closing on another property, maybe you're moving somewhere in the state, or maybe you're moving out of state and you want to have your house sold by a certain period of time, creating buyer confidence by having a pre-home inspection already in place will help you address that issue. And by understanding the absorption rate, like how fast homes are selling in your neighborhood in the last 30, 60, 90 days, or your town as an example, and how long those houses stay on the market before they're sold, is another indication on how fast or how well your property will sell. So all those factors, there's other factors too. I'm not going to get into all of them, but when you do a property position report, it really kind of fleshes out all those statistics, and this is what I do for my clients. Number 4, you avoid delays, right? So you're going to get a buyer, you're going to accept their offer, and maybe based upon an inspection. Well, you're delaying the house going under while you're under contract, depending on what you accept for how long the house is going to be tied up while a home inspection is being done. You're delaying that property from potentially reaching out to other clients and potentially making offers on it, right? So most homeowners right now in Maine are asking for a 5 to 7 business day period to do a home inspection. That means during that 5 to 7 business days, no other homeowners are going to they could make offers, but no other homeowners, you can accept any offers from anybody else. You can put them in backup positions, but you can't accept any offers from anybody else until that process is done. So essentially, in all essence, while you're not really taking your house off the market, you kind of are, because as a buyer broker, if I see a house and my buyer sees a house and they see that it's active under contract or that it's pending, they're more than likely not going to make an offer on that house unless they're desperate. And that is because as inventory increases and the days on market increase, there's more houses available, they'll probably move on to the next one. So tying up your house for the buyer to do a home inspection, while it's a necessary evil, because buyers should do home inspections unless there's a local inspection report that was just done, you're delaying the sale of your house. Maybe you don't care. Maybe you're okay with that, but just giving another example of why you might want to do a home inspection first. And then number 5, it really comes to peace of mind, right? Let's say you're going to sell your house and you don't think there's anything wrong with it and you think it's going to sell like hotcakes and there's not a problem. Well, guys, I can tell you, home inspectors' jobs are to find issues with any home. I've sold brand new spanking homes, never had anybody live in them. Only, just came on the market within like 24 hours. Just the paint was still drying, for crying out loud. And buyers have had home inspections and have found things wrong with them. Obviously the things that are wrong with them are a lot less likely than, with a new home than with an existing home. But I've never had a home inspection, both on the buyer side and the seller side, that the home inspection didn't come back with something. And as I said earlier in this opening monologue, more and more buyers are starting to do these home inspections and they're submitting what we call ICAs, investigation contingency amendments, to try to either get those issues fixed or get a price reduction. All that happens and delays the closing of your property. So the 5 reasons why, in my opinion, you might want to have a home inspection is identifying issues early, building buyer confidence, showing that you understand the house and all the challenges, if there are any, and showing that to the buyer. Number 2, being able to price your house accurately, right? If there's some major conditions and major issues, while your house may not sell at the same price that somebody else's is that doesn't have a like house that doesn't have those issues. Avoiding delays by not, spending a lot of time on home inspections. And number 5, really a peace of mind, right? When you put this product on the market, your home, that it's going to sell quickly because you're building buyer confidence and you've already done the due diligence. Now, in my world, when I talk to a homeowner and we agree to do a pre-home inspection, I either tell the seller I will pay for it up front and I will want to be reimbursed at closing 100%, or I tell the seller, why don't you pay for it up front and I will deduct half of it at closing off what you're going to pay me in commission. Risk reward, right? It'll help me help you sell your home quicker by building buyer confidence, but it'll also help you by building, helping your house move faster by essentially doing the same thing, building buyer confidence and showing that you really understand your house and what the potential challenges are, if there are any. It's really going to be, again, counterintuitive to do this up front, but I'm telling you, there's a lot of reasons why you do want to do this. All right, guys, let's talk about the cons of why you may not want to have a pre-home inspection. The first con is cost, right? You're going to pay up front for a home inspection or a home inspector to find something that's going to be wrong with your house. I know you're paying to find bad news. Does sound counterintuitive, but it could be a good thing, specifically if you don't know about it. And I'm going to give you an example of something that just happened to me on a house I closed from an out-of-state buyer that I got off this channel yesterday. They requested a home inspection. The seller knew that we were going to do a home inspection. During that home inspection, we found that there was a pressure water gauge hanging right off the main source of the water coming into the house. It was corroded, it was leaking, and it was right off, as I said, the main pressure coming into the house from the city's water. Had that pressure gauge let go or burst, the water coming into the house was right next to the electrical panel. So if that pressure gauge let go at any time, you would have had a disaster, because not only would there be water going everywhere, it would be all over your electrical system, which would be could cause electrical issues, electrical fire, blow panels, blow circuit breakers, blow all kinds of stuff. It could have been a disaster. It could happen in the middle of the night while everybody's sleeping. Might not have happened. Could have happened when somebody went away for the weekend. So doing a home inspection, you might find those little things that could be a concern, but there is a cost doing home inspections. Generally, a typical building inspection, depending on how big your house is somewhere between $600 and $1,200. If you have a real big house, it's going to be closer to $1,200. If you have something under maybe 2,000 square feet, it's going to be more like $600, at least here in Maine. But the cost, you're going to pay upfront for a home inspection. I already said, if you're going to list your house, I can either pay for it and get reimbursed 100%. You can pay for it and I'll reimburse you 50% at closing. Up to you. But that's one of the reasons why you might want to not want to consider having a home inspection, is because you are paying upfront costs to understand what potentially could be found in a home inspection by a buyer. Number two, obviously potential negative findings, right? You may think your house is fine, and a home inspector is going to go through it, and they're going to find issues. They just are. It could be minor, it could be major. And there may be issues that you never knew existed, and now you're going to be worried, oh man, am I going to be able to sell this house? Do I need to fix this house? Do I need to go get contractors? Do I need to get pricing? This is where you should really have a conversation with a realtor, or if you're doing it yourself, have a conversation with a contractor. Now remember, if you're going to have a conversation with a contractor, hopefully you know and trust them, because what contractors' business is to make money. So of course they're going to say you should probably repair it or fix it in most cases. All I'm just trying to say is be prepared if you have a home inspection that they're going to find issues. Depending on how bad the issue is or how much of an issue the problem is in terms of the actual functioning of the house, will determine if you need to repair it, replace it, or give a concession. And number three, as I said earlier in the opening, when the pros of it, once you know, you have to disclose. So if you know there's issues in the house that you haven't fixed and you don't disclose them, and they come up at a home inspection, and that home inspection is documented, and the buyer walks away from the deal telling your listing broker the reason why they walked away from the deal was because it was XXXXX, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever reasons there are. In the inspection, now that the listing agent knows, they have to now disclose that on the property disclosure report that they put on the MLS for other buyers coming forward. So again, should you get a home inspection? Depends. Pros and cons. I think in most cases you should, unless you know there's a lot of issues with your house, and A, you can't afford to get them fixed, and B, even if you could afford to get them fixed, you can't get them fixed within the time frame that you need them to be repaired before you move. So in that case, you should offer a price that's equivalent to what that would be if you had them fixed, and sell the house as is. Sure, people can still get home inspections, but you disclose, here's the issues with this house, and here's why I have it at this price. Guys, I hope this information was helpful. Maybe it's a little confusing to you. I do think it's important in most cases to have a pre-home inspection. If you have a pretty good solid house and you're in pretty good shape, you might come across a few things. They might be minor to fix. You might come across some major things, and at least you can then let your potential buyers know, here are some of the challenges that I'm not willing to fix, but I'm willing to meet you halfway, or it's all about negotiation. Guys, I hope this information was helpful. Drop me a line, send me a comment, send me an email, do whatever you need to do if you want to know more about this process. And again, I said this is one of the 8 steps. There's a lot more things you need to do in step 3 of preparing your home for sale, like decluttering and curbside appeal and all that if you're not there already. But I just wanted to expand on just one item on getting your home ready for sale, and that is a pre-inspection. Guys, if you have any questions, again, Scott Thibault here, eXp Realty, Live Life in Maine is the channel. I hope this was helpful for you. I hope you all are being safe, starting to enjoy the warmer weather, especially if you're here in Maine, and we'll talk to you soon. Scott Thibault, over and out. Bye-bye.